Don't use the Magium, Kate says. You already have the solution in to your problem right there in your pocket. You can use your stat device to become a mage. You only need to find a way to unlock your magical stats, and then you won't even need the Magium anymore. That would work. That would only work while I'm in the tournament. Here in the tournament, I say. Once there will no longer be mages around me to power up this device, energy slowly deplete by itself and the stat booster will become completely useless. But if you try to use the knowledge from the Magium to alter your stat device, Kate says. From what Araka says, I'm guessing that is somehow possible to access the Magium even if you don't enter its world. Surely amongst all that knowledge, there would also be a way to make your stat device gain its energy directly from the magical plane instead of getting from other mages, don't you think? I think you might be right. I suddenly jump up from the rock and I was leaning against. Yes, why didn't I think of that? Even without knowing what exactly the Magium is, I still should be able to at least, very least, get some knowledge from it. And given my advantage of being a half-less Ethi, I might actually be able to make my own version of a stat device with enough practice. That's brilliant. So should I take it that you're now gained back some of your motivation for winning this tournament, for this competition? Kate says. She raises an eyebrow while still leaning with her back against the rock. Yes, definitely, I say. Good, Kate says. Maybe now you'll be able to focus more on our goals than your own internal turmoil. It was getting tiresome to look at your depressed face all day. Why, Kate, I didn't know you cared. Was I really looking that depressed? Wait a minute, is this your way of saying that you were worried about me? I think I want to go for, was I looking that depressed? I've lost count of how many times I saw you just staring blankly into the horizon the past few days, Kate says. These things are easier to spot than you might think. Now come on, let's get down from this hill. Layla is probably waiting for you in order to work on your stat device. Hold on, I say. What about my own ritual? What about it? Kate says. How are you holding up? I say. You always make sure to not let your true feelings show on your face, so I can never tell when something is affecting you or not. That's why I'm trying to ask you directly. Oh, Kate says, as she looks to the side, and expression from before becomes a bit more relaxed, probably in an attempt to no longer hide her current state of mind from me. As she became less tense, I can see that she has a very tired look in her eyes, as if she has been overexerting herself for a long while, even though we haven't had any fights in the past few days. I have a little trouble sleeping lately, but nothing too serious, Kate says. She continues to look to her side. It's been 3 days already, so I've mostly gotten over it. It really doesn't look like you've gotten over it, I say. If I don't know any better, I'd say you're still battling an army of dragons by yourself for hours on end, judging by how tired you look right now. Kate frowns at me. See, this is why I try not to let it show on my face how I really feel, she says. I don't want other people to start worrying about me when they already have their own problems to deal with. Well, if you're sure you can handle it, then I won't. But I worry about you, yeah, there's more. But I want to worry about you. At first, Kate looks a bit shocked by my choice of words, but she understands what I meant and she's just looking towards the ground as she answers me. Well, she says in somewhat of a mumble, if you like being worried so much, then maybe I'll try to hide these things a bit less from now than when it's just you. She pauses, but still she continues as she is now looking me in the eye. I prefer if we drop the subject for the time being, since this is something I'd rather deal with on my own. Alright, I say. In that case, I won't press this issue any further. Thank you, Kate says. Now let's get back towards our camp. We should not keep Layla waiting any longer. Having finished our conversation, Kate and I go past the place where Araka was training Darren and Hardrick, and then we slowly begin to climb down the hill as we can reach our camp. When we get close to the tents, we see Layla was sitting on a rock next to a tree stump, which she likely wants to use as a makeshift table, so she can on which we can place my stat device while she works on it. Did her father teach her how to tear open a stat device and look into the internals of it? Where was it? Well, she works on it. Kate goes on ahead in the direction of a tent while I take my stat device out of my pocket and put it on the tree stump so Layla can continue our work from where we left off yesterday. Sorry it took so long, I tell Layla. Kate had a few things to discuss with me, so I couldn't come down right away. It's not a problem, Layla writes while smiling. I'm glad that you two finally found the time to have a discussion in private. I'm guessing that she finally approached you about your sudden change in attitude from the last few days. Everyone knows, fucking everyone knows what the fuck happened. Man, it Barry seems like super easy to read from the way they're showing. I mean, from his aura and from his normal self. That's interesting. Yes, I say. Yes, exactly. How did you know? Did you already talk to Kate about this? Layla shakes her head. No, she writes, but I could see the uneasiness in her eyes whenever she noticed that you weren't acting like your usual self Knowing Kate, I figured that she would confront you directly about this sooner or later. So how was your discussion? Did Kate manage to help you out in some way? Yeah, I said she definitely did. That's good to hear, Lila writes. Honestly, I wasn't sure if you'd be open to speak about your ritual with her, given how everyone's been completely avoiding talking about the subject in the past few days. I realized that each one of us was affected by these rituals in a different way, but sometimes it's better to get these things off your chest than to keep bottling them up inside. You mean like how you told me and Kate about your ritual and the day after the prophecy, I say. You mean like how you told me and Kate about your ritual the day after the prophecy? I said, what was Layla's ritual? Actually, I don't even remember. I don't think they showed Layla's ritual. I don't think she even talked about it, like, to us. At least we don't know. From what it seems like, Barry and Kate do know what her ritual is. I was surprised that more people didn't feel the need to talk about it, Layla writes. I would have thought that most people would want to discuss these things with friends instead of trying to pretend that nothing happened. Yeah, I say as I gaze contemplatively into this. I'm very amazed that Barry has not once mentioned to any of them that he was inside their ritual as well. Yeah, I say as I gaze contemplatively into the distance. I guess this goes to show that despite everything we've been through together, at the end of the day, we're still just a bunch of strangers who've only known each other for a little over 2 weeks since this tournament started. It's not like we've been traveling together for a lifetime, so that we'd be comfortable enough to talk about this sort of stuff without hesitation. And besides, most of the people in our group are either the types that don't like to burden other people with the problems or the types that don't want to appear weak by showing that they can be affected by such things. If you're ever going to have heart-to-heart discussions about how these rituals impacted us, it will probably happen slowly, only after everyone has already managed to deal with their problems by themselves. I guess you're right, Layla writes. Not everyone is going to be comfortable opening up to people they've only known for a short while. Perhaps these things will change with time, she pauses. Anyway, Layla writes, I think we should start working on your stat device. Maybe we'll get lucky and actually make a bit of progress today before we go to sleep. We spent the next 2 hours trying to fiddle with my stat device in order to see if we could somehow unlock the 3 hidden aura stats that Araka told me about during our meeting. Given that we didn't want to disturb Darren during his training session with Araka, we initially tried to make do with the enchanting tools we already gotten from him 2 days ago. When we started working on figuring out the secret code required to activate the magical device, once Darren came down from the hill, however, we asked him if he could give us some appropriate tools. Because the ones we were using before were suited for our previous task of cracking codes and not so useful for our new goal of finding hidden menus. With the help of Darren and with Layla's knowledge of magical devices from her father, we eventually managed to discover the hidden menus that Araka was talking about, but now we are facing a new challenge. Says the only method Darren and Layla could come up with for unlocking these hidden stats was a risky one, which may even render my device completely useless if we got unlucky. No matter how long I think about this, I'm not seeing other options, Darren says, as he's holding 2 sharp metal tools in his hands. As he's holding 2 sharp metal tools in his hands, using them to manipulate the aura around my stat device. I'm not sure if Layla's father would come up with a better idea than this, but I can't think of any other way of unlocking these extra stats than to force the seal placed on them by force. The problem is that if there is some sort of security measure in place to prevent such a thing from happening, your stat device may go into emergency lockdown mode, which could completely prevent you from using your regular stats until lockdown is deactivated. If that happens, then fiddling with the device further without having a very deep understanding of how its mechanisms work could cause it to break completely. It would be indeed better to wait for Layla's father and see if he has some other ideas before we go any further with this plan. I mean, as I said, it's not like the game. I mean, the worst thing that can happen, the game is just going to give us a game over screen if we go about. And if we don't do this, then we'll just unlock it later. And if it unlocks, then yeah, hooray. If it doesn't, then it gets locked down or broken, then who cares? It's probably just going to be a game over screen, so let's do it. Let us forcibly unlock the hidden stats. No regrets. Oh, my stat device actually broke. What the hell? I don't think there'd be they'd take such drastic measures just for unlocking a few hidden stats, I say. It's not like you need a secret code to activate them, like for those two magical devices. I say we try to unlock them by force, see what happens. It's your device, Barry, so you can do whatever you want with it, Darren says somewhat reluctantly. Let's just hope that your instincts are right about this one. He then moves to sharp metal tools, some more in the air above the stat booster, and he stops for a few seconds, looking at the device intently. Here we go. Then says he brings both of the metal tools together, and he touches my device with them. As soon as he does this, the screen of my device turns red, and all it says is warning security breach. For your safety, this device will be locked until one of the designers can take a look at it and unlock it manually.